Alright guys, this is a video. I'm back. This is going to be a real difficult video to do. I actually wasn't planning on doing this video at all this week. I planned on doing a video on Bisping Vanderlei Silva next year and the Ultimate Fight Night card and how that was going to go, and wrestling video on Raw with Jesse Ventura and all the talk of Sheamus. That was what I was planning to do, but nothing always goes according to plan, and well, everybody probably knows by now about the news um, about Edward Umaga Fatu, uh, obviously known as Umaga, most famously known as Umaga. I heard the news yesterday evening. I just got back from work, and someone messaged me and told me just to check. So I went online. I saw a message saying that Umaga was in a fatal way, in critical condition. Sorry, and very shocked. And then about half an hour later, he was pronounced dead. I tell you, it's a sad thing sometimes. And you know, sometimes it feels like, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, every time I go on WWE.com or I go on a wrestling website, I've become conditioned to seeing breaking news, wrestler found dead, or breaking news, wrestler dies. It's just the last few years as a fan, from a fan standpoint, it's always been like that now, and it's sad to see another a good one go. No one deserves to go. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. And obviously, my thoughts and prayers and concerns go out to that entire family, the Noah family, and obviously his wife and his children. From a fan standpoint, I mean, it's sad thing to go to hear. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of talk about this on a high note. I first remember hearing about Umaga way back, from way back actually, when Rikishi was in the WWF, and he wasn't Rikishi, he used another name, and it was in 96, 95. He was kind of doing a street reformed character gimmick, and then they had these two guys in the crowd watching him, and that's how I remember him. It's the first time I remember seeing him. I think I was about 10, it was like 95. And then I never saw him again, and then, oh, WXW, I think that's where I started to see his name pop around, and then in HWA, Heartland Wrestling Association, with his cousin as the Island Boys, and I used to hear a lot of good things about them, and I know they were doing a lot of work with the Invasion storyline that they actually carried on in their developmental league, and they were like the WWF defenders in the developmental territory. So it's kind of how I remembered them. I always used to hear a lot of good things like that, you know, the power moves and the things they could do for big men. And then they finally debuted as 3 Minute Warning with Eric Bischoff, which was quite memorable for that HLA skip. But, I mean, there was so much potential with the two of them. These big guys that looked like street guys, so they had a look that was in, and they were doing all these power moves. And I particularly remember him under the name of Jamal doing these split-legged moonsaults and these really amazing agile things and power moves. I thought was pretty impressive. And then I believe he was let go. I think it was a behavioural thing anyway. And he went to TNA, it was Siaki for a little bit, which I don't remember too much of. I just remember him coming out in a match with D'Lo Brown and doing something. That's all I can really remember. But it seemed to really turn around for him around the time he went to Japan, All Japan Pro Wrestling. He seemed to have some great success there, and it seemed to be where he got his most polish. So much so that, you know, I think the work that he did there was a big reason as to why he got brought back and re-signed. And I was wondering what they'd bring him in as, you know, or what they would do, or maybe they'd reform him with Rosie, or maybe just be Jamal. I wasn't too sure what they would do, and then he comes in with this gimmick after WrestleMania in 2006, Umaga, this savage beast monster heel gimmick, and the look kind of threw me off. That was one of the first things I noticed, was that look. It just throws you off, but that was one of the good things about him. He didn't look like everybody else. He had this different look, and he kind of stood out then, and he had a manager and a mouthpiece. And he had his charisma in the way he wrestled and the way he presented himself. And he was a big man, not in height, but I mean he was a big guy wrestling a certain type of style. And it reminded me a lot of two of my favorite wrestlers, Vader and Bam Bigelow. And I felt he was booked to perfection. When I first saw it, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't too sure about it, but it was presented in such a way that it became intriguing. Just destroying jobbers on Raw and then destroying lower card guys and then having pay per view matches. So it made his pay per view matches interesting. And all the way to the point where he had a feud with Cena, which was actually really good. And he was one of the few people that was a strong enough heel character where the fans actually sided with Cena and booed Umaga. And I think that was a big credit due to his hard work as a heel. And I thought he did a tremendous job. And he actually had one of the more interesting matches with Cena, I felt, of that year because of how it's presented. And I know that a lot of people believed he was going to win the belt. And you know what? He probably could have, and it's a shame that he didn't. But man, he had a great match with Cena at the Royal Rumble, and then he was given that big match at WrestleMania with Bobby Lashley and the Donald Trump billion Battle of the Billionaires thing, and I thought that was good publicity for him, get his name out there, a bit extra money. And then he had these really, really good matches with Jeff Hardy on TV, and they had this match, and I'll be honest with you, I can probably watch this match a few times, especially when I pop up this DVD. Jeff Hardy versus Umaga at Great American Bash, and they had this really good big man, small man, monster heel, sympathetic babyface chemistry, and it just worked. And it was just a tremendous match that those two had, and it showed a lot about the two of them. Umaga ended up winning, obviously, but it did something. And then he had the feud with Triple H, and I thought they had some decent matches, but I felt around that time his momentum had stalled a bit, which was a shame because he's just a very, very good monster heel and, very, very useful to have around. I was a big fan of his work, and then I think he got injured in 2008, shoulder injury, which was a shame. But, it's just disappointing. Uh, one of my favourite things, actually, this is a joke I have with my friends, because I know I've got a lot of friends who watch wrestling casually. And it's just a weird memory I have of him anyway, Umaga. It was when William Regal used to do his entrance. And he used to shout, Umaga! I don't know why, but I always used to do that. I used to think that was great fun. And then I saw when he was out injured, he came back to FCW, and there's a clip, and I'll find it on YouTube, where he comes out and he gets this loud pop, like a loud crowd reaction. And that was interesting. I think that just showed again how good he was at his role and how hard he worked. And it's a shame things didn't work out towards the end. I believe he was let go because he failed a drug test. I would need to research that. And didn't want to go to rehab. And you can't help but think, I wonder what could have happened, or what if something had happened there. Something was done there. Some intervention was taken, but you never know. I mean, it's a hard kind of video to do. There's a lot of guys who can do, a lot better with these kind of things. I'm not really good at this kind of thing. And this wasn't a video planned on doing. It's just always disappointing when you hear this as a wrestling fan. And two YouTubers said it best, and it was RVD Tito for life, that we didn't get to say goodbye on our terms to Eddie Guerrero. We didn't get to say goodbye on our terms to Test or Chris Benoit or any of these wrestlers, and it hits you pretty hard. And we got the chance to say goodbye to someone like a Ric Flair, but we didn't get a chance to say our goodbyes to these other performers, and this was the case now with Umaga. So, again, I just, my prayers are with that family and the people who obviously knew him on a personal level. God knows what it's like and what must be going through their minds right now. It's just a shocking turn of events. He's just found just there, unconscious in his room, in his living room, bleeding from the nose and from the mouth, and he's not coming around, and he suffered a heart attack at 36. Which is, again, it's just like, oh my God, he's only 36 years old. He's got his life ahead of him, and obviously he had children and a family, and you wonder what happened to that family. What's going to happen with that family, or concerns for that family. And you just, times like this, you just gotta hope and wish and pray for the best. So this isn't alcohol, but this one is to you. God bless you and your family, and I guess I'm out. Take care, guys.